The Shanghai race showed us what everyone has been wondering about for a long time. Why is Lance Stroll still racing in Formula One, even though we know his dad owns the team and he's not going anywhere from Aston Martin? There's a new big company called Honda that might want to join the team. This could change things, even though Aston Martin says nothing will change. So should Lawrence have a really awkward talk with his son? Is it finally time for Aston Martin to move on from Lance? You could say the Shanghai race was one of the worst moments in Lance's career, and he's had lots of bad moments even though he's only 25 years old. The fact that he crashed into the back of Ricciardo's car while looking at the corner instead of watching where he was going, with two other cars in front of Ricciardo, shows that he either doesn't care at all or he's just not good enough for Formula One racing. It's probably both things that got Lance where he is now, a safe spot given to him by his dad and a cocky attitude where he thinks he's tough, which is a really bad mix for a driver who has only gotten 9 points out of the 40 points his team has earned in 2024. Since Lance keeps racing like this no matter what rule changes happen, Honda has started worrying about who drives for Aston Martin starting in 2026. When asked about this, Koji Watanabe, who runs Honda's Formula One team, said their goal is to win races and they need the best drivers possible. If you look at Aston Martin's current drivers, you'll see a huge difference between the two. Even though it's hard to match someone like Alonso, who has won the World Championship twice and has lots of experience, the gap between him and Lance is massive, and Lance isn't even trying to get better. This crash got everyone in Formula One talking, and the fact that Mike Crack, who runs the Aston Martin team, defended Stroll just shows that Lance can do whatever he wants as long as his dad owns the team. According to Lance, the penalty he got was dumb and pointless because Ricciardo brake tested him. But they were driving behind a safety car and coming up to a corner that Lance was staring at so hard that he forgot to brake. Even so, Ricciardo didn't hold back and said exactly how he felt about the whole thing, something that I'm sure lots of people in Formula One are thinking right now. Ricciardo talked about how his race got ruined because his car got badly damaged, and he said maybe in an hour when Lance sees what happened, he might admit he messed up, but if he doesn't, nobody can help him. He said, "It's so frustrating because racing accidents happen, but they should never happen behind a safety car." What really made Ricciardo angry was when he watched Lance's camera footage to see what Lance was seeing. As soon as they started braking, you could see Lance turn his head to the right and look at the corner instead of watching Ricciardo's car. He wasn't even watching Ricciardo, and when he looked back, he was already crashing into him. Like I said earlier, the whole crash was stupid and the penalty was too harsh for Lance, who ended up finishing dead last after getting a 10-second penalty for his mistake. When Lance explained what happened from his side, he said the car in front of him stopped really fast from 60 to 0, and boom, a really stupid crash. He said it wasn't like everything was normal and he just slammed into Ricciardo's back. There was a weird chain reaction that he wished the race officials had thought about more. He said it is what it is. Even Oscar Piastri was asked about this crash, and when someone told him the reason why Lance hit Ricciardo, Piastri's answer was perfect. He said, "Yes, we all brake suddenly sometimes, but we didn't crash into each other." Besides this, Riccardo Piastri's car also got hurt from getting hit from behind, which made the younger Australian driver's race basically impossible to win, as Alonso easily passed him near the end of the race no matter what. Lance's situation is pretty hopeless when you think about it because he's staying put, and Aston Martin has made it very clear the whole project they've been building is just because of Lance, not because of the driver racing next to him. When talking about Aston Martin's future and what will happen with Lance and the team, Mike Crack said last week it was mainly about Fernando. But we also know that Aston Martin is Lance's home. We know that, and the whole project has always been around him, so we want things to stay the same. He said he's always said this is very important. So we'll see in the next few weeks. I don't think many people believe Lance is a big part of Aston Martin's success. His influence barely goes beyond the fact that his love for racing brought his father into the sport, and what started as Racing Point became Aston Martin, a project that looked like it could fight for podiums much more often in 2023 but is now slowly falling back to the middle of the pack. What's even more interesting is that they're competing against the worst version of Mercedes, and even with Hamilton not finishing in the top 5 in any full race, Aston Martin is still 12 points behind Mercedes. This is mostly because of Lance's influence that I talked about earlier. He has brought in 9 out of the total 40 points the team has earned this season, and the fact that this number is 3 times less than what Alonso has achieved so far, it shows that it's going to be a one-man show for another painful season for the team. Based in Silverstone, this is where Honda can change things a bit because once their partnership with Red Bull ends, it's obvious they won't be happy with anything less than race wins and maybe even championship fights. It's not crazy to think that Alonso could get them there if they give him the right car, but a one-man show in such a tight group of teams, where you'll have improved versions of Ferrari and Mercedes and a brand new team from Red Bull's engine division, means a very competitive field ahead. Aston Martin will need 2 good drivers to get the absolute best out of their car and team. Honda takes care of its drivers in a very special way, and to say they won't try to get that seat at Aston Martin for Yuki Tsunoda would be a huge understatement. What's happening at Red Bull right now points to two possibilities. Either Perez gets his contract extended or Sainz gets hired as the second driver next to Verstappen. Helmut Marko himself admitted that Red Bull's current situation is making them think about hiring someone from outside, which would be Sainz at best. But even for this to happen, they would need Perez to perform really badly, which we're very unlikely to see for the rest of the season. As for Yuki, he'll be competing at his very best once 2026 comes because he'll have to make lots of people proud back at Honda. So if he's the choice that the Japanese team would push for the seat at Aston Martin, then it's safe to say there will be lots of uncomfortable conversations at the Silverstone team. However, the situation probably won't change, because we've heard over and over what Lawrence's position is about his son. As long as he owns the team, Lance will have a seat in it. But the current engine supplier for Aston Martin, Mercedes, doesn't care who drives that seat because they have their own plans and problems to fix. That won't be the case with Honda though. Aston Martin would be the main and only team that gets Honda engines, and when you're putting so much money and effort into a team, you expect the same amount of success back from your partner, with Aramco also wanting to have more influence in Aston Martin, and by controlling ownership from Lawrence, who might be slowly but surely realizing that his son isn't made of the special stuff he thought he was. Then it would be smart to think that there will be lots of pressure put on Lawrence to get rid of his son. The question is, will he have the guts and courage to actually do it, or will he be happy competing in the middle of the pack as long as his son has a guaranteed seat on the grid? What's your take on this whole situation? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested, click on the video appearing on your screen right now.